Finally found your target. You rush up and give him a smack, and you do 0 damage. You try again, smack, and 0 damage. And again. Aw, damn, what's with this sword? It can't do shit. Alright, there's no joke here. The hits on Barbarian and Warlock have very noticeably been causing a lot of 0 damage hits, and has basically been causing you to miss out on, let's say, your daily power or even your tunnel vision, and missing out on a considerable chunk of damage. And this is because of this new combat rework. Now, you won't notice any of those zeros occurring as soon as you don't slot in a combat enchantment. Now, you can get these zeros as well even when you have a cursed burn. You can jump into a bunch of enemies. Yeah, you're going to get a bunch of zeros there. As you can see, they're all just dodging my attacks. Now, what is actually happening here is I dodge the enemy's attacks, which makes basically all my attacks zeros because I'm immune to damage, so they are also immune to damage, which I don't like the system. And it works the same when basically you get overwhelmed and you take too much damage, and then you're faced with the decision to release or scroll. And we go ahead and scroll here, and we can see we can hit all these enemies, but zero. You can see we take no damage as well, and it's all just zeros. This has happened before, but not to this extent with regards to the combat enchantment, and also having this dodge mechanic causing your attacks to also deal 0 damage. In my opinion, this seriously needs a fix. This is with the cursed burn this time around. You can see they both cause your attacks to deal 0, but the workaround is basically not to dodge in combat, which is terrible. You want to be able to use your immunity frames to avoid certain heavy attacks and thus not take immeasurable amounts of damage. If you just stand still, you won't see any of those zeros and all will work out fine. As long as you don't use this dodge power, you won't see those zeros. You can see we're using the dodge power, get out of his attacks, and yeah, we get zeros. Now, this doesn't just work on the Barbarian. We can go and switch to our Warlock, and this is a big issue here as well. Like, I dodge, use my Hellfire Ring, and zeros. We done no damage. The dot does some more damage, but you can see otherwise all those zeros in between as well. And we go and dodge again, hit this dummy, zeros. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. And for a Warlock, that's pretty soul crushing when the amount of your damage relies on that damage over time, and whenever you are dodging to void a mechanic, you're just causing zeros. Sometimes you're a bit too slow and you don't cause those zeros. Like here, we can cause the damage zeros with our Hellfire Ring, but if we're a bit too slow, then we don't cause zeros, which is it's a good thing. But just the fact that, let's say, you could dodge and then use your daily power and it gets a zero. It's terrible, especially competing with, let's say, other classes in the new trial. We noticed a big difference when a Warlock was stealing all of those zeros using a combat enchantment. So my Warlock friend would just upright refuse to use a combat enchantment and not get any of those zeros. So again, the workaround is not to use your immunity frames and you won't get those zeros. You can always wait a little bit after you've gone and immunity frame dodged, and you won't cause zeros either. However, that's just annoying. You want to be able to have that reactive gameplay, to be able to make the decision of, do I want to dodge now? And when you choose you want to dodge, there's nothing stopping you dodging. You don't have to wait till you've finished casting a power. You can just immediately dodge, at least with most classes and with most mechanics. Most of them should let you to immediately break free of any animation to immediately go and dodge. Even if you have a lengthy cast time, you should be able to just interrupt it, as you can see there. So instead of casting it, we went and just dodged away. However, some of the powers also have like a commitment timer. So once you've like been casting it for a certain amount, let's say like I feel it with this Hellfire Ring, it doesn't let me dodge away after a certain period of time. For other classes, this doesn't seem to be much of an issue at all. You can see we can dodge around as much as we want on a rogue and we never run into issues with zeros. So there's that, and that's great. but that doesn't mean other classes shouldn't have that fixed for them so that they ain't causing zeros after they dodge. And the scrolls, I can understand why they would have the zeros after you scroll, because you're immune, so I should be able to do damage, and it's also like a penalty thing. You shouldn't have died in the first place. However, again, I still think that should also be removed. So overall, hopefully this was insightful to you guys as why your powers may be causing 0 damage hit markers. You're dealing no damage because if you're immune to damage, then apparently so are your enemies, and that works again with scrolls also. Mainly you'll see these zeros on a Barbarian or a Warlock, where those sprint abilities cause you to have immunity frames for a set period amount of time depending on how long you're sprinting. Now Aster has gone ahead and made a blog post of all this on the forums, so make sure and go and give that an agreement and a comment to make sure that you can actually get some devs' eyes on this situation, and hopefully it can be fixed ASAP. Link in the description. So again, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.